66 million years ago, the Earth faced a moment unlike anything before or since. A moment so violent, so sudden, that it ended the reign of the most extraordinary creatures to ever walk, fly, or dominate this planet. This was the last day of the dinosaurs. A day when life thrived in every corner of the Earth, unaware that an unstoppable force was racing toward them through the darkness of space. Imagine a world filled with titans, colossal triceratops moving in thunderous herds, towering conifers stretching into a warm and endless sky, oceans ruled by predators longer than buses, and the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex, the undisputed king of the land. It was a planet overflowing with power and beauty, shaped by 150 million years of evolution. But on this final day, nature's balance would be shattered forever. In the stillness of the Cretaceous dawn, no creature sensed the cosmic bullet hurtling toward them. No roar, no footstep, no instinct could prepare them for what was coming. Above the blue sky, far beyond the atmosphere, a mountain-sized asteroid was locked onto a collision course with Earth. And when it arrived, it would bring fire from the heavens, oceans that rose like walls, darkness that swallowed the sun, and a silence that closed the age of giants. This is the story of that day. The day the Earth stopped. The day life died and was reborn. The day the dinosaurs faced their final sunrise. In this documentary, we will travel back through time to witness the world they lived in, the moment the sky caught fire, the global winter that followed, and the survivors who rose from the ashes to shape the world we know today. But before we begin this journey through destruction, survival, and rebirth, I have a challenge for you. If you're fascinated by ancient worlds, epic stories, and the mysteries carved into Earth's past, then prove your passion right now. Hit the like button if you want more documentaries like this. Subscribe to join a community that brings lost worlds back to life. And comment, "I survived the impact," to show us you're truly ready to witness the last day of the dinosaurs. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Because the final chapter of the dinosaurs starts now.
The Golden Age of the Dinosaurs. 66 million years ago, long before the first human foot ever touched the soil of Earth, the planet breathed to a rhythm entirely its own. It was a world ruled not by machines, nor cities, nor thoughts, but by life in its purest, rawest form. Life that towered over trees, life that swam through ancient oceans, life that soared on wings wider than anything in our modern sky. It was the late Cretaceous, the final chapter of the dinosaurs. The Earth was warm then, wrapped in a soft, humid climate that encouraged growth in every corner of the globe. No ice caps crowned the poles. No winters stole the green from the land. Instead, vast forests stretched from coast to coast, ferns rising in thick carpets, conifers towering like living spires, and flowering plants spreading new colors across an ancient world. Rivers glistened like silver veins, mountains stood proud but young, oceans rolled endlessly, warm and rich with life. This was a planet overflowing with beauty and danger. Across the great plains of what would one day become North America, herds of triceratops moved like armored caravans. Their massive frills glowed in the sun, each pattern unique, a kind of prehistoric fingerprint. They communicated through deep bellows and rhythmic snorts, sounds that drifted across valleys like echoes of thunder. When predators approached, the herd tightened into a circle, young at the center, adults forming a shield of bone and instinct. These giants were not merely animals. They were survivors, sculpted by millions of years of evolution. Nearby, Hadrosaurs, the duck-billed dinosaurs, moved in long, winding migrations. Their cries created a chorus that rolled across the plains, a sound both ancient and strangely musical. They fed on leaves, seeds, and branches, stripping entire forests clean as they passed. They were the lifeblood of many ecosystems, sustaining predators, shaping landscapes, and feeding the cycle of life. In the drier regions, ankylosaurs trudged through the underbrush like living tanks cloaked in armor. Their tails ended in massive clubs capable of shattering bone. They were slow but fearless, built for a world where danger lurked behind every fern. But for all their strength, none commanded the land the way one creature did: the Tyrannosaurus rex. A predator unmatched, a hunter with jaws strong enough to crush stone, a body sculpted for dominance. The T-Rex moved with an authority that shook the earth. Its steps were slow, deliberate, confident. It hunted by smell, by patience, by sudden bursts of terrifying power. Its roar, if heard today, would feel like the earth itself splitting open. This creature was not simply the apex predator of its environment. It was the embodiment of the Cretaceous itself, raw, ancient, unstoppable. Life filled the skies as well. Pterosaurs, some with wingspans longer than small aircraft, soared above the forests, riding warm air currents. Their shadows passed over lakes and swamps, startling smaller creatures below. Primitive birds flapped between branches, their feathers shimmering in hues of deep blues and golds. The world was experimenting with flight, testing wings, testing bones, testing limits. Beneath their wings, the forests teemed with smaller, agile creatures. Velociraptors and dromaeosaurs, feathers glinting in the sun, stalked prey with calculated silence. They worked together, communicating with clicks and whistles as they slipped between trees. Small mammals darted through the underbrush, furred survivors who lived in constant fear of the giants that walked above them. And beyond the forests, in the deep blue, another world thrived. The oceans were kingdoms in their own right. The mighty Mosasaurus, a marine reptile longer than a bus, ruled the seas with terrifying grace. Its jaws were designed for gripping slippery prey, big enough to swallow a shark whole. Schools of fish scattered like clouds whenever it approached. Ancient turtles, larger than modern cars, glided slowly through the currents. Coral reefs bustled with vibrant life that would not be seen again for tens of millions of years. Everywhere the planet breathed, there was life. And everything was connected. Plants absorbed sunlight. Herbivores consumed the plants. Predators hunted the herbivores. Scavengers feasted on what remained. Insects pollinated new flowers, helping forests evolve. Rivers flooded and receded, spreading nutrients across plains. Storms roared in from warm oceans, rejuvenating the land with rain. It was a perfect cycle, one that had persisted for ages. But perfection in the universe is temporary. Even at the height of this thriving era, subtle signs whispered that nothing lasts forever. Volcanoes rumbled in distant lands, reshaping the earth. Sea levels fluctuated slowly. New species rose while old ones vanished in silence. Nature was changing its tune, as it always had and always would. But none of these shifts hinted at what was truly coming, because the greatest threat to this magnificent world was not on Earth at all. It was silent. It was distant. It was unstoppable. And it was already on its way. The dinosaurs did not sense it. How could they? Their world was stable, prosperous, full of life. Predator and prey continued their ancient dance. Young dinosaurs hatched from eggs buried carefully in nests of leaves and soil. Herds marched across plains. Waves crashed against ancient shores. Every sunrise seemed eternal. Every sunset felt like a promise. But fate had already written the final chapter. In the vast, cold darkness of space, a rock the size of a mountain, formed billions of years earlier in the chaos of the solar system, was careened on a collision course with Earth. A cosmic bullet traveling faster than anything alive could imagine. It had no malice, no purpose, no awareness of the destruction it would unleash. It simply followed the laws of gravity, drifting closer with each passing year, then passing day, then passing hour. And the dinosaurs, the rulers of the world, continued their lives beneath the sky that held their doom. The golden age of the dinosaurs was magnificent, but like all ages, no matter how powerful, it was not eternal. Soon the world would change in a single moment, a moment so violent, so absolute, that it would erase nearly 3/4 of all species on Earth. The end was approaching, quietly, silently, inevitably. And yet the final dawn of the dinosaurs began with peace. A peaceful world, unaware that its time was running out.
In the cold emptiness far beyond Earth, where sunlight fades into eternal night, an ancient wanderer drifted through space, an asteroid, a fragment of cosmic violence left behind from the birth of the solar system, a relic of creation, a remnant of chaos. For millions of years it floated through the darkness, occasionally caught in the gravitational pull of passing planets before drifting again, always moving but never with purpose, existing in silence, in patience, in inevitability. Then something changed, a slight pull, a shift in orbit, a subtle nudge from the invisible hand of gravity, and suddenly its path bent toward Earth. At first, its journey was slow and unnoticeable, passing Mars without incident, slipping silently through the asteroid belt, falling deeper into the inner solar system, pulled by a force it could not escape. As it traveled, it accelerated, faster and faster, a silent predator descending from the heavens. Below, Earth spun peacefully, alive with forests, oceans, storms, and countless creatures thriving in the warmth of a stable world. The dinosaurs had no reason to look up. Their eyes remained fixed on land, on prey, on the rhythms of life, unaware of the catastrophe racing toward them. As the asteroid neared the Moon's orbit, it reached a speed of 70,000 kilometers per hour, unimaginably fast, cosmically fast. Entering Earth's atmosphere, the air before it compressed violently, heating to thousands of degrees as the asteroid glowed like a small sun, a white-hot spear tearing through the sky with a fiery tail stretching across the clouds like a wound in the heavens. On the ground, life continued as normal. A triceratops grazed by a river, a tyrannosaurus stalked a distant herd, pterosaurs glided on warm air currents, and small mammals scurried through the leaves, all unaware that their world hung moments from destruction. At most, the creatures sensed only a faint unease. The birds fell silent, the air grew still, a strange quiet spread across plains and forests, as if the planet itself held its breath. Then, for a moment shorter than a heartbeat, a bright point appeared over the horizon, an unfamiliar star racing toward Earth. The dinosaurs did not understand. They could not understand. The sky shimmered, the horizon glowed, and the silent killer plunged toward its final destination, the Yucatan Peninsula. The asteroid streaked downward, blazing so intensely it turned night into day, burning brighter than any light Earth had ever seen, until in a single instant, impact. A flash brighter than every lightning storm in history, combined, erupted across the land, followed by a shockwave that shattered stone, and an explosion beyond anything the planet would witness for the next 66 million years. The impact unleashed the energy of 100 trillion tons of TNT, the power of 10 billion atomic bombs, instantly boiling oceans, vaporizing rock, igniting the atmosphere itself, reshaping the world in a single violent breath. And this was only the beginning. The asteroid struck the Earth with a fury beyond imagination, an energy so vast and violent that it reshaped the very skin of the planet in a fraction of a second, turning the moment of impact into an apocalypse compressed into a single breath. When it slammed into the shallow waters of what is now the Yucatan Peninsula, the force of collision vaporized everything it touched. Ocean, rock, and atmosphere simply vanished in the first millisecond. The planet itself seemed to scream as a blinding flash erupted, brighter than 1,000 suns, a light no creature could have seen and lived to remember. A human standing thousands of kilometers away would have witnessed daylight ignite and vanish before they could even blink. The asteroid plunged deep into the crust, boring kilometers beneath the surface before disintegrating completely, releasing an energy that tore a hole more than 180 kilometers wide and over 20 kilometers deep. A wound carved into the earth, a scar that would never fully heal. Temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun exploded outward. Rock vaporized, sand turned to glass, and the ocean instantly transformed into steam, rising in a towering column. A colossal fireball expanded, erasing forests, life, and landscapes in an instant. Dinosaurs near the impact were not killed, they were obliterated, reduced to dust and memory. A shockwave then barreled across continents at 5 times the speed of sound, flattening everything in its path, turning the air itself into a weapon of unimaginable force. Creatures thousands of kilometers away were thrown to the ground as the atmosphere convulsed. Moments later, a mega-earthquake rippled around the globe, reshaping rivers, collapsing cliffs, and awakening volcanoes. Then the ocean struck back. A tsunami more than a kilometer high raced outward at jet-like speeds, smashing coastlines and sweeping entire ecosystems into the sea. Even mighty marine reptiles such as mosasaurs were hurled like debris, suffocating in the violent churn. Yet this was still not the worst of it. Billions of tons of molten debris blasted into the sky, arcing around the planet and falling back as a deadly meteor storm. Within hours, the entire world was under a rain of fire. Forests ignited spontaneously, grasslands became vast infernos, and every corner of Earth glowed with burning skies. This global firestorm raged for days, filling the atmosphere with a choking veil of ash and sulfur that blotted out the sun and plunged the world into a freezing twilight. Temperatures plummeted, plants withered, ecosystems collapsed, and the dinosaurs, once Earth's unrivaled rulers, found themselves standing unknowingly at the edge of extinction. All they felt was trembling ground, scorching heat, and a sky darkening with doom as the chain of destruction began, unstoppable and absolute. In the hours following the impact, the Earth was transformed into a furnace. The sky was a storm of falling stars, hundreds of billions of fragments of molten rock raining down from every direction. From horizon to horizon, the world glowed red, as if the atmosphere itself had caught fire. Animals fled in terror. Dinosaurs scattered across the land, their instincts overwhelmed by an enemy they had never known. But there was nowhere to hide. Every falling fragment struck the ground with the force of a bomb. Forests erupted into flame. Grasslands ignited like fields of dry powder. Even damp swamps, normally resistant to fire, burned with unnatural intensity as hot debris fell into their waters. By nightfall, if night could still be recognized, the world was ablaze. Flames climbed mountainsides, smoke choked valleys. Entire ecosystems were reduced to ash within hours. The great forests that had stood for millions of years vanished in a single day. But the true catastrophe had only begun. As fires raged across continents, smoke and ash rose into the upper layers of the atmosphere. Volcanic explosions triggered by the impact added even more material to the sky. Sulfuric acid droplets, carbon dioxide, toxic gases. The atmosphere became a thick, dark blanket. Within days, sunlight dimmed to a faint glow. Within weeks, it disappeared entirely. The Earth entered a global night, a darkness so complete, so suffocating, that even the brightest noon looked like a fading twilight. Plants deprived of sunlight stopped photosynthesizing. Flowers wilted, leaves fell. Entire forests died standing. Without plants, the herbivores began to starve. Triceratops herds wandered across blackened plains, searching for food that no longer existed. Their once powerful bodies grew weaker, thinner. Hunger drove them into strange territories. Their calls, once strong and resonant, became hollow echoes in an empty world. Predators fared no better. The mighty T-Rex, king of the land, found nothing left to hunt. Its keen sense of smell detected only the scent of death. With each passing day, it grew leaner, slower. The world it dominated had vanished beneath its feet. Smaller predators scavenged desperately. Insects fed on rotting vegetation. Small mammals huddled in burrows, lived off stored seeds and insects, waiting in the darkness. Temperatures plummeted. Ash blocked so much sunlight that global temperatures fell to near freezing levels. Rivers iced over. Rain turned to snow. Tropical regions experienced their first cold in millions of years. This sudden change was brutal, unnatural, deadly. Dinosaurs evolved for warm climates could not survive this chill. Many froze. Others starved. Some suffocated in the thick smoke. One by one, the giants fell. The oceans suffered just as terribly. Without sunlight, plankton died. Without plankton, fish starved. Without fish, marine reptiles perished. The collapse happened like falling dominoes, swift, silent, unforgiving. By the end of the first few months, the Earth had become a silent, frozen tomb. An entire era of life was fading. And yet, through all this devastation, life did not vanish completely. In tiny cracks beneath the Earth, small mammals survived on insects and roots. In ponds beneath the ice, amphibians lingered in suspended silence. In deep oceans, life endured on geothermal vents. But the age of the dinosaurs, the age of titans, the age of giants was ending. The planet would take decades to recover. The darkness would lift slowly. The world would thaw. Plants would return. Life would bloom again. And one day, far in the future, a new kind of creature would rise. A creature capable of remembering, imagining, and telling the story of that terrible day. A creature that would one day look at the stars and wonder what killed the dinosaurs. The answer? A fire from the sky, a winter without light, a silence that swallowed an entire world. And from this extinction came the beginning of us.
In the silence, after the fires, after the falling stars, after the freezing dark that smothered the world, the Earth lay wounded. What had once been a planet bursting with color, sound, and movement became a realm of ash and shadow. For months, then years, the sun remained dim behind a shroud of dust. The world seemed frozen in a long, unending twilight.
Yet even in devastation, the Earth continued its ancient rhythm. Winds swept across barren plains, waves rose and fell against blackened coasts, volcanoes rumbled in distant lands. Time moved forward, slow but relentless. And beneath the weight of destruction, life held on. The first survivors were not the giants, not the predators that once ruled the forests, not the armored beasts or the soaring reptiles. Instead, survival belonged to the small, the hidden, the overlooked. Creatures that had always lived in the shadows now clung to existence with quiet resilience. Tiny mammals, no larger than mice, huddled in their burrows beneath the frozen ground, feeding on whatever they could: roots, insects, seeds buried before the catastrophe. Their fur kept them warm, their size allowed them to hide, their diets made them adaptable. For millions of years, they had lived beneath the feet of dinosaurs. Now, without knowing it, they were the future. Amphibians, resistant to cold and capable of slipping into dormancy, survived in deep mud. Insects, ever adaptable and persistent, continued to breed, feeding on decaying plants and carcasses. Some turtles and crocodilians endured in icy wetlands, protected by their ability to slow their metabolisms almost to stillness. Deep in the oceans, life clung to heated vents, colonies of organisms that depended not on sunlight, but on the Earth's internal heat. In total darkness, surrounded by toxins and extreme temperatures, these simple life forms continued as if nothing had happened. For them, the end of the dinosaurs was merely another change in an ever-changing world. Although life endured, the planet itself remained bleak. The forests were gone, the plains were empty, the seas were quiet. Years passed, then more years. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the ash in the sky began to settle. The first rays of true sunlight broke through the smoky veil, weak and pale, but unmistakable. It touched the ground like a hesitant hand. It warmed the air by a single degree. But that was enough. The Earth remembered sunlight. Ice melted. Broken rivers began to flow again. Wind shifted. Storms carried moisture to the land. The world awakened. And in cracks between scorched rocks, the first green shoots appeared. Mosses that thrived in damp, low-light conditions. They spread across the ground like a soft carpet of hope. Ferns followed, unfurling delicate fronds as if testing the air. Seeds that had survived deep underground sprouted into small, fragile plants. It was not the lush world of the Cretaceous, not yet, but it was a beginning. The return of plants brought the return of life. Insects emerged first, feeding on the new vegetation. Beetles crawled across the earth. Ants rebuilt their hidden kingdoms. Dragonflies hovered over shallow ponds. Their presence reshaped the environment, breaking down debris, fertilizing soil, forming the first links in reborn food chains. Small mammals left their burrows cautiously. The world was colder, quieter, emptier, but it was survivable. They explored slowly, nibbling on leaves and insects, their instincts sharpened by the near extinction they had endured. Without fear of giant predators lurking in the shadows, they ventured farther, bred more quickly, and spread across the land. For the first time in over 150 million years, mammals were not prey hiding from giants. They were pioneers in a world waiting to be rebuilt. Slowly, landscapes transformed. Within decades, hardy shrubs appeared on hillsides. Within centuries, forests of young trees rose, different from the forest that had come before. Flowering plants reclaimed the land with bursts of color. Grasses spread across plains once trampled by dinosaur herds. But the dinosaurs were gone. Not sleeping, not hiding, gone forever. Their time had ended in fire and darkness, yet the world they left behind was richer for their existence. Even in their absence, evolution did not stop. New species emerged from survivors, forming entirely new ecosystems. Birds, descendants of small feathered dinosaurs, took to the skies again, singing songs no Triceratops or Tyrannosaurus would ever hear. Some birds grew large and powerful, becoming the dominant predators of their time. In the oceans, new fish and marine reptiles evolved. Coral reefs began to rebuild. Deep sea life continued its ancient cycles. With each passing century, the Earth stitched itself back together. Life filled the world once more, not as it had before, but in a form reshaped by extinction. The age that arose from the ashes was not the age of dinosaurs, but something new. The age of mammals. Small survivors evolved into diverse forms. Creatures that climbed trees, ran across plains, glided between branches, and eventually learned to think in ways no creature ever had. They grew larger, smarter, more adaptable. They explored every environment: forests, deserts, oceans, mountaintops. Millions of years passed. Continents drifted. Climates shifted. Evolution continued its endless dance. Some mammals became predators with sharp claws and intelligent eyes. Others became gentle giants, feeding on renewed forests. Others developed complex social structures, learning to cooperate and protect one another. And eventually, from tiny furred survivors who once hid beneath the feet of dinosaurs, came creatures who could walk upright, create tools, speak, dream. Humans. We are the legacy of that ancient catastrophe. Had the asteroid missed Earth by even a fraction of a second, dinosaurs might still roam today, and creatures like us might never have existed. The world would have belonged to them, not us. The extinction of the dinosaurs was not simply the end of their story, it was the beginning of ours. Today, the Earth bears the memory of that day in its rocks, fossils, and the thin layer of iridium marking the boundary between eras. Every mountain, canyon, and fossilized bone whispers a piece of the story, a story of fire, death, and rebirth. The dinosaurs ruled for more than 150 million years, but in a single day, everything changed. And from that destruction, new life emerged, more adaptable, more curious, more capable of shaping the world in ways no dinosaur ever could. We are part of that story now. And as long as we look to the stars, ask where we came from, and walk the earth they once ruled, their memory will never fade. Because extinction is not just an ending, it is transformation, renewal, and the reminder that life, even in its darkest moments, always finds a way to begin again.
As the darkness lifted and sunlight finally broke through the ash-filled sky, the earth began to breathe again. What started as the most terrifying event in our planet's history became the beginning of an entirely new chapter. The dinosaurs, the mighty rulers of Earth for more than 150 million years, had fallen. But from their extinction came a spark, one that would eventually lead to birds, mammals, and ultimately to us. Every mountain we climb today, every fossil buried beneath our feet, every bone uncovered by scientists is a reminder of that single moment in time, a moment that reshaped the planet forever. The age of giants may be gone, but their story is written in the stones, in the DNA of the creatures that survived, and in the imagination of every person who looks at the stars and wonders how it all began. We are here because life found a way, because even in total darkness, hope persisted, because from destruction came creation. And now, as this journey ends, remember this: the story of the dinosaurs isn't just an ancient tragedy. It's a lesson about resilience, about change, about the fragile miracle of life itself. Their world ended in fire, but ours continues because life refuses to surrender. If this documentary made you feel something, awe, wonder, sadness, curiosity, then you've just experienced what makes Earth's history so powerful. The past isn't dead. It breathes through us. It shapes us. And it reminds us that everything we know can change in an instant. Before you go, I have one last challenge for you. If you learned something new today, hit that like button. If you want more epic documentaries like this, make sure to subscribe. And comment below. Life always finds a way. If you believe the story of Earth must continue to be told. Your support helps bring more lost worlds back to life, more mysteries uncovered, and more forgotten stories reborn. Thank you for traveling 66 million years into the past with us. This has been the last day of the dinosaurs and the first step toward the world we live in today. Until the next journey, stay curious, stay amazed, and remember, the Earth always has another story to tell.